Hello, everyone. This is Thomas and Patrick here at Inspired Aspirations, and we're glad to be with you today. Happy feast day of St. Andrew the Apostle. And today, Patrick, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is the beautiful churches that the Catholic Church has. Patrick, what is the most beautiful church you've been to?
Ooh, the most beautiful. I would say that's a good question. I've been to a lot. I would say I think my favorite though is the National Shrine in DC, the
Mm,
the
yeah.
National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Long
Yep.
name for a big church, but also really beautiful. But then also the church where my parents got married, which is the Basilica of Saint Mary in Alexandria. Very
That is also
beautiful. How about you, Thomas?
I would say, like you said, you visit so many, you're just like, I want them all. But I would say really two for me is one is the Basilica of Notre Dame in Montreal. It's this
Oh,
gorgeous all wooden church that is just absolutely phenomenally beautiful. And the second is another wooden church. You can't tell us. I love especially churches that are kind of made of wood.
mhm.
And in St. Patrick's in New Hampshire, it is you walk in there. There's just old, beautiful, kind of wooden church, dark. And you see beautiful statues and carvings and a beautiful altar, and you're just like, wow, I could sit here forever and just absorb it all. And yeah, you especially like when you walk into churches like that or walk into any real beautiful church, it just there's something about the presence that kind of hits you. Just like I see the beauty and the majesty of it all,
Mhm.
and that's just something you're as Catholics. That's one thing is God is majestic, really, and that you
Mhm.
just see that reflected in His buildings, rightly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think we were talking before the video recording that, churches are beautiful for a reason. Like they're aesthetically pleasing for a reason. They're supposed to lift our minds to God, right? Or they're supposed to help inspire us and elevate our our existence and our thought. The idea of you walk into, a cathedral or, a beautiful church and what's the thing you almost automatically do? You find okay, yeah, you find like the tabernacle and you want to genuflect. Okay, that's right and good, but almost always you find yourself looking upwards, right? You're looking
Hmm.
up to heaven, and that's done. That's very intentional, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and the the fact that churches are beautiful, I think that is, or they're meant to be beautiful, and that's a good thing for us. And if it's beautiful and it's good, then what goes on inside the church, namely the celebration of the Mass, the proclamation of the gospel, and the consecration in the Eucharist, is true. And so that beauty is, I think, in a sense, a statement of truth. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we're also healed by beauty as well,
Yeah.
because our souls are deformed by original sin, and when you encounter, that's why Catholic churches they often might not reflect our sinfulness, but rather what their supernatural goodness and beauty of God
Mhm.
that come down to us, that healed us, that really shape us, and that form us. And you see kind of the best aspirations of man fall down in kind of the healing kind of power of God. And also, as well as in addition to kind of the beauty, as well as also you walk in a beautiful, you often, especially for me, an older church, there's something about the continuity of people who have prayed there, who have seen the same things you do, and have been lifted in the same way to God that you have. And there's always sometimes an experience for me. Sometimes you walk in church like there's a weight that comes on your soul. Like okay, something is solid here that is not I can't ignore. And
Mhm.
that's something that's me that happens. Other times you just walk in and you'll be able to sit down and just be like, I feel like I'm with him. And not in the presence of the tabernacle as well, but in the presence of also the people who have prayed there, their
Yeah.
souls who have been sanctified by the Mass and the sacraments that have been done there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I feel the same way. There is a sort of weight that I think is palpable. You can sort of feel it when you're in an older church. You know, if you go into like a newer church, yeah, I mean, some newer churches are being built now. They're absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. And there's an excitement in that
Yeah.
because you're sort of building the foundation for people, you know, for
Yeah.
hopefully hundreds of years from now, will walk in and sort of feel that. But I think going into, you know, an older space, you certainly get a sense of that history, and but also a sense of continuity that uh, many of the people who've prayed there, you know, for generations, you know,
Yeah.
struggled with, you know, worldly and secular issues that you yourself may be faced with, and also, you know, effects of sinfulness, but they also were healed in that space, right? They, you know, encountered God's mercy and encountered the sacraments, and you know, throughout their entire life, and you know, of course, at the end, where do we come at the end of our lives? But to be brought to the altar, right? And their family members around them to pray for the repose of their soul.
Mm.
Um, but I think also, you know, churches, I think they also have a really big practical purpose, and their beauty in that they also catechize.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the stained glass windows throughout older churches in Europe and other parts of the world, you know, were meant to be catechetical tools to teach the faithful who, you know, about the faith, whether it's stories in the Bible or various saints. Um, and I think, you know, that to have that help us have that
Yeah.
visualization,
Yeah.
hits home what those stories have for us and how we can apply our lives to them.
Yeah. Yeah, as well as, like, for example, a lot of churches, they have stained glass windows of the saints to
Mm-hmm.
remind us of the communion of the saints when they're praying for here, but we're participating in that same celestial worship down here below in the
Right.
holy sacrifice of the Mass. And like you said, like you have different icons of the evangelists, like even, for example, to take the National Shrine, you'll have Christ seated in majesty and revelation to
Yeah.
remind us of our final judgment. You know, that all of these are very teaching tools. And like you said, it goes back to when people may not have had much fluency with the Bible as they did today, but they still could look at church and like, okay, I see that what's reflected in the sermons is reflected in the church, is reflected hopefully in the way I've lived my life is
Mm-hmm.
conformed to the Christ and the teachings of his church.
Yeah. So, was there anything else that we needed to hit on this topic, Thomas, or anything else you wanted to mention?
No, it just, one other thing is, if you really have heard of some beautiful churches in your area that you're kind of wondering about, I encourage you to go to make a pilgrimage there, pray there. They perhaps might even be indulgences attached to visiting that, like basilica or something like that, that you can avail yourself of. And it's just an awesome experience to be able to go there and to visit there, to pray there, and to admire the beauty of the church. And it's just something that's very, very natural to us as Catholics to be attracted to. So I encourage, like, even if it's like an hour away, to just take time to visit one. They're there,
Absolutely.
and they're waiting for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we are just about all out of time here. Thank you for tuning in to this episode on Inspired Aspirations. If you found this to be, I don't know, inspirational or edifying in any way, please feel free to like or subscribe on YouTube. We're also on various other social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And feel free to share it with your family and friends, especially during the holiday season. And as we prepare, trudge through Advent and progress towards Christmas. But anyways, thanks so much for stopping by. Please know have our prayers for you. And don't forget to think Catholic, speak Catholic, be Catholic. See ya.